Chapter 5. The Plan. When I arrived at school the next day, I went to the gym to look for my watch. I could not find it near the showers, so I went to ask the janitor. "Hello, Mr. Phillips," I said. "Did you find a watch near the showers yesterday?"
"Yes, I did,"
said Mr. Phillips.
"Here it is."
He took my watch out of a box on his desk and smiled. "Oh, that's great. Thanks a lot," I said happily and ran to class. At lunch, Barbara, Walter, and I sat together in the cafeteria. I had a lot of things to tell them. "Well, guys, guess who's an alien?" I said.
"Oh, no,"
said Walter.
"Not another alien. First it was Mr. Wilkinson."
"Is this a joke?"
asked Barbara. "No, listen to me, please," I whispered excitedly. "Mr. Kent is an alien."
"What?"
cried Walter.
"No, he's not,"
cried Barbara, who thought I was joking. "Shh, be quiet," I said. Some of the other students turned around and looked at us. "Let me tell you what happened last night." I told them everything about last night. My friends were shocked, but they believed me. They stopped eating their lunches.
"Do you remember the alien alert in August?"
asked Walter.
"All the newspapers were talking about it."
"Yeah,"
said Barbara.
"some people saw a UFO near the Cascade Mountains."
"Then Mr. Kent is one of the aliens from the UFO,"
said Walter.
"Do you remember how he looked at the sun the first day of school? And how the mice in the cages were afraid of him? Wow!"
"Aliens scare me,"
said Barbara.
"A teacher who's an alien at our school."
"I don't think aliens are bad,"
said Walter.
"They're just different."
"Now listen," I said. "Other aliens are coming to the old airfield Friday night in their spaceship. They want to take Mr. Kent and a student to their planet, Mitrax. They want to study humans."
"A student?"
cried Barbara.
"That's one of us,"
"We have to stop him,"
said Walter.
"Are the aliens coming this Friday?"
asked Barbara. "Yes, on the day of the PTA meeting," I said. "And today is Thursday. We only have one day to do something."
"I have an idea,"
said Walter. "What is it?" I asked.
"We have to find the special X5 spray and take it away from Mr. Kent,"
Walter said.
"Without it, he can't take the student."
"Great idea,"
said Barbara.
"The spray is probably in the science lab or in his house."
"This afternoon when he goes home, we can look for the spray in the science lab,"
said Walter.
"But all the sprays and bottles are in locked cupboards, and we don't have the key."
"Maybe my brother Matt can help us,"
said Barbara.
"He's a policeman, and he has a special key that opens all doors."
"Can we use it?"
asked Walter.
"Well, I can't tell him our story because he'll never believe it,"
said Barbara.
"But sometimes he goes to work and leaves the special key in his room. I'll look for it and take it. Then I'll put it back."
"Be careful, Barbara," I said. "We don't want trouble with the police." We started laughing. It was time to go back to our afternoon classes, math and American history. I was happy when school ended at 3:30. Barbara and I went to her house, and Walter stayed at the school library. When we got to Barbara's house, no one was home. We went to Matt's room and looked for the special key.
"I hope Matt didn't take the key with him,"
said Barbara. She opened all the drawers and cupboards in his room and looked for it.
"Here it is,"
she cried happily.
"It was at the back of his desk drawer."
"Oh, great! Now let's go back to school," I said. We went back to school quickly and called Walter, who was still studying in the library. It was almost 5 o'clock, and there was no one in school. We went upstairs to the science lab. The door of the lab was open, and someone was inside.
"Oh no, it's Mr. Phillips, the janitor,"
Walter whispered.
"Let's hide in the bathroom,"
said Barbara. We hid in the bathroom for a few minutes. Then we heard Mr. Phillips go downstairs,
Okay, now we can go to the lab.
said Walter. We went inside the lab and looked around. There was a big sign on each cupboard that said, "Danger! Toxic chemicals inside." We opened the two big ones and looked at every bottle. There weren't any spray cans. Then we looked inside the smallest one and found a small black spray can. It didn't have a name,
All the other bottles and cans have a name.
said Walter.
This must be Mr. Kent's spray.
He took it out of the small cupboard and said,
It's very heavy.
"Who wants to take it home?" I asked.
Not me.
Said Barbara.
My mother always looks around in my room.
"Mine does too," I said.
Oh, I'll take it home.
Said Walter.
A spray can from another planet. I can study it.
Don't spray yourself with it.
Barbara said, laughing. Walter, Barbara, and I went home because we had a lot of homework to do. After dinner, the phone rang and I answered it.
Hi, Karen.
Said Walter.
Can you come to my house? I have to talk to you.
"It's 8 o'clock and I'm doing my homework," I said.
Karen, please. This is important.
Walter said. "Are you all right, Walter?" I asked. "You sound strange."
Please come, Karen. It's important.
"Okay, I'll be there in 15 minutes," I said. I quickly put on my jacket and ran downstairs to the living room. My mom was reading the newspaper and my dad was watching TV. Tex was sitting next to them. "Mom, I'm taking Tex out for a walk,"
At 8 o'clock at night?
my mom asked, surprised. "Yeah, I'm tired of studying," I said. "I really need to take a walk and get some fresh air. I'll be back by 9 o'clock,"
Some fresh air is good for you, Karen.
said my dad.
It's a nice evening.
"See you later," I said. Tex and I walked down the street and crossed the park quickly. What did Walter want at this time? I wanted to find out. It was a warm evening and there was a full moon in the sky. Chapter 6. A Big Decision. Walter was waiting for me at the front door of his beautiful house.
Hi, Karen.
He said.
You can leave Tex outside in the garden. Tootsie doesn't like dogs.
"I know, and Tex doesn't like cats either," I said, laughing. Walter was home alone, and we went to his room and sat down.
Karen, I have some news for you.
He said. "News? What news?" I asked.
I want to go to Mitrax with Mr. Kent.
Said Walter. "What?" I cried. "Are you joking?"
No, I'm not joking, Karen.
He said.
This is a great opportunity for me. You know I want to become an astronaut. A trip on a spaceship to another galaxy is wonderful. I can see Mitrax and the aliens who live there. I can study them and see how they live and what they eat. I can find out things that aren't written in books. This is a great scientific adventure, and I'm lucky I can go. How many people have the opportunity to go to and explore another planet?
Walter was happy and excited. "But aren't you afraid of aliens?" I asked. "What will they do to you?"
I don't think Mr. Kent and the other aliens want to hurt me,
said Walter.
They just want to study me because I'm a human. I think I can trust them.
"When will you return to Earth?" I asked.
I don't know,
He said.
but I want to return to see you.
"Are you going to tell your dad?" I asked.
He's away on business for a few days,
said Walter.
I'm going to write him a letter and explain everything.
We talked for a long time, and I began to understand Walter's decision. "I'll never see you again," I said, and started crying. He took my hand and said,
Please don't cry, Karen. I'll come back and tell you amazing things.
We were silent for a few minutes.
Please don't tell anyone except Barbara about my decision.
Said Walter. "I won't. It's our secret, I said.
Here, take my school ring. When you look at it, think of me.
He said, giving it to me. I'll always think of you, I said quietly. I put his ring on my finger.
Listen, Karen,
Said Walter.
we have to make a plan for tomorrow evening. When Mr. Kent takes the student to the science lab, he won't find his spray. So the student will run away and he will return to his spaceship with no one. He can't miss his spaceship because it will leave without him. I'll wait for him in the science lab tomorrow evening, and I'll tell him my decision.
Good luck, Walter, I said. Walter looked at Tootsie and said,
Can you look after Tootsie when I go away?
Well, there's Tex, but I can look after your cat, I said. I've got a big garden,
Thanks a lot, Karen.
said Walter. When I got home, it was late, and I immediately went upstairs to bed, but I couldn't sleep. On Friday morning, I met Barbara and we walked to school together. I told her about Walter's decision. She stopped in the middle of the street and almost started crying. Then she saw his school ring on my finger. She smiled and said,
He likes you a lot.
At the end of the school day, Walter, Barbara, and I went for an ice cream. We sat around a small round table and ate our ice cream quietly,
This is the last time we can have ice cream together.
said Barbara sadly. The PTA meeting started at 7 o'clock. First, the parents visited our classrooms and talked to some of our teachers. At 8 o'clock, there was a big meeting in the gym with the principal. She was explaining about all the plans for the school over the next year. At about 8:15, Mr. Kent got up from his chair and went to see Barbara's family. He whispered something to them and then to Barbara. She was his choice. She got up and followed him. She wasn't worried because she knew Walter was waiting in the science lab. They left the gym and went upstairs. I decided to follow them,
Karen, where are you going?
whispered my dad. Oh, I'm just going to the science lab for a minute. Chapter 7. The Old Airfield. When I got to the science lab, I slowly opened the door and looked inside. Barbara was standing near the table. Mr. Kent took out his key and opened the small cupboard, but he could not find his X5 spray.
Oh, no!
He said angrily.
Where is it?
I heard Walter say,
What are you looking for, Mr. Kent?
Walter, what are you doing here?
asked Mr. Kent, surprised.
Are you looking for your X5 spray, Clyreg?
Asked Walter calmly.
How do you know my name and about the spray?
Asked Mr. Kent nervously.
We know everything about you.
Said Barbara. Yes, we know who you are and why you're here, I said. I walked into the lab and closed the door. Mr. Kent was very surprised and looked inside the small cupboard again,
We know about your plan, and I want to go to Mitrax with you.
said Walter, looking at Mr. Kent in the eyes.
Leave Barbara here and take me with you. You can study me. I'm not afraid. I know you won't hurt me.
You want to come to Mitrax with me?
Asked Mr. Kent, who was shocked.
Yes, I do.
Said Walter.
I want to find out about life on other planets.
That's a very brave decision.
Said Mr. Kent.
Mitrax is in another galaxy, and it's very different to Earth. Are you sure?
Yes, I'm sure.
Said Walter.
It will be a great experience.
Mr. Kent, can I ask you what Mitrax is like? I asked. I wanted to know something about where Walter was going.
Yes, Karen, you can.
He answered.
Mitrax is a small planet, about half the size of Earth. There are no buildings, and we all live in spaceships. Our technology is much more advanced. Walter will have a lot of fun discovering all the new things.
It sounded interesting. I looked at my watch and said sadly, "It's almost 9 o'clock. You're going to miss your spaceship." "Goodbye, Walter, and good luck,"
One day I'll come back.
said Walter, looking at me. Mr. Kent walked towards the door, and Walter followed him,
Yes, goodbye and good luck, Walter.
said Barbara. Mr. Kent looked at us and smiled. I thought about the green face and the red eyes under the mask. I could not believe what was happening,
You humans are interesting.
said Mr. Kent.
Walter, let's go. We have to get to the airfield before 9:30.
Then they ran down the stairs and left the school. I looked at Barbara and said, "Let's follow them. We can see the spaceship and perhaps a few aliens,"
Yeah, let's go.
said Barbara. There was no one at the old airfield. The spaceship was there, but the lights were off. It was gray and round. Mr. Kent and Walter were standing in front of it. Suddenly the lights came on and a door opened. A tall alien came to the door. He said something to Mr. Kent in a strange language, and then another strange voice said,
The spaceship is leaving in 1 minute.
Walter turned around and said,
Goodbye, Karen. Goodbye, Barbara.
"Have fun on Mitrax," I said, laughing and crying at the same time. Walter and Mr. Kent went inside the spaceship, and the door closed suddenly. The spaceship lights turned on, and it immediately went up into the night sky silently. Barbara and I watched it until it disappeared. Then we went back to the meeting at school. Barbara went to sit with her parents, and I went to sit with mine.
Is everything all right, Karen?
My mom asked. "Of course," I said,
This is a very interesting meeting.
said my dad.
When it's over, we're invited to coffee and cake in the cafeteria.
"Oh, okay," I said, but I wasn't interested. I was thinking about Walter, Mr. Kent, the spaceship, and Mitrax. Barbara looked at me and smiled. She was the only one who could understand how I felt that evening. 6 months later, the day after the PTA meeting, Barbara and I told everyone the truth about Mr. Kent and Walter. The news was on the front pages of every American and foreign newspaper. There were hundreds of articles about the UFO, Mr. Kent, Walter, and Mitrax. Journalists came to our school and interviewed us. They took pictures of us and the old airfield. TV stations from all over the world also came to film Washington High School. The news was on television for weeks. Then things slowly started to get back to normal. At school, we now have a new science teacher. Her name is Miss Lundberg, and I don't think she's an alien, but who knows? Mr. Wilkinson is feeling better, and he often smiles and laughs. He's starting to eat a big lunch in the cafeteria, like everyone else. We all like his English class because he is an excellent teacher. He'll be our English teacher next year, too. Tootsie now lives with us, and she's happy. She and Tex fought a lot in the beginning, but now they're friends and they play together. Barbara and I often talk about Walter, Mr. Kent, the spaceship, and our great adventure. Some evenings I sit in the garden, look at Walter's ring, and look up at the sky. I think of him on Mitrax. Good night, Walter, wherever you are. I hope to see you soon.